Hey YouTube, so this is the other guy coming to you this morning. So I am going to be doing a plasma cutting test on this Simadre 5200DX. I've never cut anything with a plasma cutter before, so this will be the first time that I'll be doing a test on it, and I'll let you know how it is. And so if you look at here, this is a 3-in-1 plasma cutter, TIG welder, and a stick welder. Okay, this is the spot for you to connect your your stick welder, the stinger, and this is your TIG, and also your plasma torch. And this right here controls the TIG and the torch air inlet, and this right here is the ground. So that's where it is. This right here, that's for the TIG torch. Move it up, you know. For arc, just go there. For cutting, go here. Let's see, machine. That's for the foot pedal. Okay. So anyway, right now it's switched to machine. This is if you want to TIG. Okay. So here. This is where you crank out the amp. Okay, the lowest amperage you can go here is 9 amp. However, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to start at 20 amps. The reason is because I am going to be cutting this 11 gauge steel right here. So this is the plan. Now I've done some random cut right here without adjusting any air pressure or any amp whatsoever. Well, I cut at I would see the amp that I used to cut this was 40 amp, and it cut like butter. However, what I'm doing is I'm experimenting. So this plate here, as you can see here, this is gonna be at 20 amp, 25 amp, 30 amp, 35 amp, 40 amp, 45 amp, 50 amp at 25 psi, and so on at 30 psi. And if you look over here, okay, and here it is at 50 psi, and here 60 psi. So that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna do some test cuts, and we'll see how this machine function, so that I know how to adjust this power thingy when I'm working on it. So this is at 20 psi right here, and this is at 25 psi. Okay, so the amperage is set at 20 amp. So let's go and do it and see what happens. So what I found out is that you don't really have to touch your tip onto the metal here. All you do is make sure that you have a certain distance to it, and it'll just spark. Now it's 25 amp. Okay. I'll be darned. Okay, so let's go 20 amp. And then we'll take a look at the jig. Okay, so definitely know that this thing is getting harder to cut. I'll have to slow down on the speed. Okay. Okay, so you can see here. Now, this is 50 psi, 20 amp, and it's really ugly. Maybe it's my fault, okay? As you can see, let me get a little thing. Okay, so here, basically, so you can see here at 50 psi here, and 20 amp, 25 amp, you can see there's little lips here. Okay, I think this is the result of the air blowing the melting metal up, and so there's these little ridges that shouldn't be here, and here as well. Okay, this is the PS. This is 30 amp at 50 psi. Okay, so the cut is not that clean here, and then here as well, and then look at that here as well, but it's not as noticeable as these right here. Okay, and here at 50 psi, it's less noticeable than this right here. Okay, and here, okay, here at 60 psi, 20 amp, it cuts nicer than this right here. Okay, so here's 20 amp. The ridges here is almost the same as that, but the speed is, I noticed that it was slower. Okay, but it'll cut. And here's the ridges here as well. But, and as you can see, as we go up and up and up, here it's spray. There's some spray right here. I don't know why, but it looks to me that from here to here and here, this is sort of like a better norm to cut at 11 gauge. Okay, and so let's look at this thing. Okay, it's not that hot. Let's look at this thing from this side. Okay, so here, okay, so here, as you can see, it's really nasty here. This is 20 amp at 30 psi. I wouldn't recommend doing this part. It looks really nasty. The cut here are really nasty here. See that? Okay, so I wouldn't recommend 30 psi for 11 gauge at any amp level. Look at that. Okay, this is 25 psi at any amp level. The cutting is just not really nice. You could see a lot of inconsistency down here. Okay, so this is 50 psi. It looks really nice here. But then there's a lot of slags down under. Okay, so these are the slags on the other side. Okay, and it looks to me that it's okay. So let's compare slag size. I don't know what they call it, but I call it slags. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. If you guys who are more experts on this, I'm just a beginner. Okay, so watch this. These are the higher amperage. Oh, these are the higher psi slags, and that's the lower psi slags. Ooh, look at that. Okay, so I would not recommend lower psi. Look at that. Okay, so this part right here is 30 psi from here to here. Look at that. These are nasty slags, and these are 20 psi. Okay, and let's look at the higher psi. This is 60, 50. Okay, 60 I'm holding on this side. Look at that. So I would recommend 50s and 60 psi on 11 gauge, partly because of the slag here, partly because of how it cuts. It has a nicer cut on it than these right here. Okay, has a nicer cut on 50, between 50 and 60 psi. Here, 50 and 60. Okay, so I'm tempted to go to 70 and 80, but you know, I guess I'll do that with thicker steel. But for right now, I think for 11 gauge, something similar in gauge, I'll be happy with 60, 50, maybe 70. But anyway, that's just my experiment. I'm gonna use this as a reference so that I know exactly what to do next time if I have to cut any type of steel like this. So let me know what your thoughts are. I'm not a professional. This is my first time ever buying a plasma cutter, and don't judge me. Leave the hate comment on the low end, guys. But this is what it is. It is what it is, guys.